3 hours, isn't it, for us?
That's right, yeah. 3 hours. We think we were doing well at 3 hours. But we made it here in the end.
Oh, no, very, very pleased to be
really
here.
pleased. So, so after that...
And let me tell you the nice one. In a place which I shall not mention called Memphis. I was the first person. I don't normally use your carrier because they're not like the wonderful BA and the even better version. But I was the first one off the plane, first Brit off the plane, a non-American. And there was a Cuban ebony standing there. And he said, "Why have you come to the United States?" I said, "I'm guest of honour at a WorldCon here. Not at a convention here." And he said, and he looked me in the eye and said, "Stay right there." And he picked up the phone and said, "Stan, I got him." And he said, "Stay right there." And there was a queue piling up behind me. And then suddenly, patter of feet, in comes this small guy. No Cuban ebony, and he's got a bag, and I see it's got my title. I'm one of your greatest fans. I will be on. I'm working when the convention is on, and I'll be on nights, and I will be coming around. I've really got all that. I'm really your greatest fan. Take your stand and to stand. So, give him right here, and I was standing with her, like to Sam, my old friend, who's not going to let him beat me up. Please, don't let them hurt me, please. And in the end, we got through his books, and Sam was. He rushed off because there was another queue that he had left, so they were waiting. And I got back, and then there was me and the cube of ebony, and said, "Have you got any ID?" And I actually said, because I thought, what the hell? You could ask Sam. For just one moment on the Earth, for just one fraction of a second, no particle, what's name can pick up, nearly cracked the smile. And timing myself properly, I slammed the passport down with the Queen's head on it, just at the right moment. After which he told me where there was a good fish restaurant.
I think it's time that I really need to get on with the probing questions now, the ones that the readers would really like to hear. And as you know, I've sat in on...
Where is your bowler hat?
Yeah, okay. If I was introduced as Rob Wilkins, I'd better put the bowler...
Some of you have read the book already, I just know.
This is the official bowler hat for the job.
For my PA.
You ready for this?
A real Englishman.
Yes, you can't wear it with that jutting jaw out. But as I was saying, I've sat in probably 1,000 interviews by now, and there's questions that get asked time after time, and I think it's my job to really ask the ones that don't get asked all the time. So I'm going to kick off with Terry Pratchett. Where do you get your funny ideas from?
Well, we can tell them now, don't we?
We can. In fact, I say that in a good way. This is
we're not really going to stunt this one up. I'm sure many of you know that with Steve Baxter, we are working on a book called The Long Earth, which is a mixture of fantasy and science fiction, I suspect. Or shall we say it's out there science fiction. But in between times, because of interruptions in the flow and various things, we both got other books to work on, so everything's working. And so there's all, you can always come to your desk and know there's something to do. And I'm working on a book with a working title of Happy Families. It's set in early Victorian England. It's not steampunk. It's a slightly different kind of punk. And I love the Victorian era, and I research a lot of it because so much of it has gone into Discworld anyway, in any case. And in doing it, I realised that I was followed about by a goddess. She's called, what did you decide to call her?
Narrativia.
Narrativia. The goddess, because the way I write normally, I have the idea, the rough idea, how it goes, probably how it should end. And then I plunge in, hoping that as I swim to the far corner, I will pick up enough momentum to be able to climb out at the other side. And it kept working, as you know, and I would be, Rob knows that he sits there up in his high perch, and I scream out stuff. I want you to look up the oldest men's outfitter in London. You got that one?
Yeah,
there's one. That's right. And we know the colour of the front door, which is actually mahogany, and it's polished, because it's in the book. But one thing, every time I wanted to get a fact, I learned another fact. And all these facts made the work I was in progress better, because I learned little things by talking to the people I was researching. We were doing all this very fast in the morning, and I was talking to the guy, and he was telling me all about how it began and how much the stovepipe hats cost. And then he said, and the last thing he said, and I won't tell you the significance, he said, oh, and also when Sir Robert Peel, who actually started the first London police force, was alive, he came straight from Parliament and got a suit of clothes. And we even know what we made for him. And I can't tell you why it's so significant to the plot. Oh dear, Narrativia. I will have a shrine made in your memory. And in fact, the cunning artificer is making one for me. He says, do you want an urn? Because as you know, it's not nude if it's an urn, if it's got an urn.
Can I tell you my favourite occurrence of Narrativia? Going back to it was the Thief of Time, so it's a number of years ago now. Terry was looking for the fifth horseman of the apocalypse, the horseman who left before they got famous. And so came up with a name, knew he was going to be a milkman, and he was going to be Ronnie Soak. The milkman, there he is, we've got the name down, so we can carry on working now because he's been personified as Ronnie Soak. And it was many, many months later that Luke Say was driving the milk float through Ankh-Morpork.
He was on the milk float.
Sorry, he was on the milk float.
Because Harry Soak, so Mr. Soak was actually driving.
He was driving,
yeah. Was on it, yeah.
And he looked in, I think it was into the window of the Undertaker.
Yeah, because that's because they're always dark. So that way you do get a mirror reflection.
And he looked into the reflection and he saw the name Ronnie Soak. Soak, the reverse of Soak, the mirror of Soak, chaos. Suddenly, chaos was the fifth horseman of the apocalypse. And it was that moment when we actually grabbed each other and ran, and I go, "Aah!"
It's actually right, because as he claims himself, I was there in the beginning and I'm here at the end.
And all it meant was at the time Terry said, now I'm going to have to go back through and drop a few fractal gags in the build-up to it.
But it really is strange how long it. I mean, if I had to come to earth on this, I say, because I've read so much over the years. I've got a very large library in my library, and like the rest of you, I've got all kinds of other libraries everywhere in the house where a book can be stored. And so probably you pick things up over time that will go into the manufacturing and turn up when you need them.
Yeah, it's amazing where you do pick things up from. I'm not going to tell them that Mr. Rincewind delivers our milk. But blimey, what a busy year we've had. What month are we in now? October? I mean, Australia seems like 100 years ago.
Well, first of all, 3 funerals of that.
Yes, yeah, they seem to be popping up more than we would like.
You start to worry. I mean, everyone goes to funerals because it's going to be granny and granddad, isn't it? And then, alas, it's going to be mum and dad. And then when the funerals you go to belong to people that you've grown up with, then you hear the kind of swish, swish of the knife on the aside.